Welcome to the Legacy Show. We're going to have fun tonight. Yeah. All right, so this is the Legacy Show. The theme is Workaholics. Are the Workaholics in the house? At least you admit, the first step is acknowledging it. So we have a sold-out house tonight. And I'll tell you, it's fun to know that, hey, I've got something here that there's something here that people want to listen to. So one day, it was about Wednesday. It was Wednesday, actually. I'm sitting at my computer, and all of a sudden, a bunch of ticket sales start coming through. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? What's happening? And then all of a sudden, I get this email from Brianne Sperber, who's the marketing director here, that says, subject line, Timeout New York, and it just says, yay. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means, but maybe there's a correlation to the fact that the show is selling tickets randomly out of nowhere. And it turns out that Timeout New York listed this show tonight as the 20 amazing things to do in New York City this week. Which is cool because we're right under Daniela Laporte and right above the Moth Story Slam. So this is a big monumental moment for the Legacy Show. Yes. All right, so I need to raise my hands more. That got the room to change dynamic. Now I know why Evita did it like that. Now. What's that? You just raise it and see what happens. So tonight's theme is Workaholics, and this is a special night. It's show number 9. What is that symbol? The quiet coyote. All right, so I have Fluid Films here today filming this because the show is doing remarkably well, but we want to keep it in this environment. So we want to keep having houses like this with individuals that want to actually come see the show and hear our role models speak every single night. And so you might see some cameras in the room going around. So that's why we're doing it. This is not every single show, but we're filming this because we want to we're going to do a trailer for the Legacy Show. So if you like tonight, please let people know, hey, the Legacy Show, this is really cool. And I'll tell you a little bit about when the next Legacy show is. But every single week we do this. Me and my team, not week, I wish it was week. We're going to get there soon. Every other month right now we do a Legacy Show. And the purpose is for those of you who want to do more or do more meaningful work or leave a legacy behind. Because my name of my company is The Legacy of You, hence the name of the Legacy Show. And Workaholics, I got the idea because I once had this notion that you have to work so hard, almost to like blogger by death kind of hard, in order to do something meaningful. And the thing that's crazy that I learned as I matured in business and business grew was, there's a difference between working hard and playing hard and working smart and playing hard. And so I wanted to do Workaholics because we have some remarkable people who are role models that are going to join us on the stage tonight. And you could say, oh yeah, I'm a workaholic, and it's a great thing because I hustle and I make things happen. Or you could say, I'm a workaholic because, you know what, I might have a lot of money, but my relationships suck. I'm 45 pounds overweight or whatever you want. So you get to determine after this show, is workaholic a good thing? Is it a bad thing? That's up to you. When I was really young, about 20 years old, 22 actually to be exact, I took on a project with somebody. I said, you know what, I can make this event work. It happened to be in the dance comp world. It's a thing that I work in. It's an industry that I happen to be involved in. And I was like, I'm gonna come to the table. And I ended up working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. And but I was doing good because I was growing business. And I was like, I'm 22. I'm gonna make a lot of money here. And you know what? At the end of that, when I was 22, I did well, and it was an interesting experience because all of a sudden I was 22 and I had all this money all of a sudden, and it was a major difference in income. And I was sitting in my Midtown apartment, sitting on my $2,000 couch, watching my $2,000 Sony Aquos, like 17-inch screen TV that was like this. And I remember sitting there in that moment going, the TV doesn't make me any happier, and the couch doesn't make my manhood any bigger. And I got really no relationships. My parents sort of forgot about me. But I got money, and it was an interesting lesson to learn, you know what, it's nice, it helps, but you know what, I got to change something. And that day I actually quit the job, and I went to be a $300 a week non-union actor on the Fiddler on the Roof tour. And you know what, from there, life got really cool, and the adventures got really cool. So tonight we have some more stories that I think of individuals that are really cool. We don't call them speakers or presenters. They're role models because they're individuals who have done things that I think are great accomplishments in their lives, one way or another. And for us to be able to sit and listen and hear their stories or their thoughts or their philosophies to bring us together, because this is the original storytelling. This is the original entertainment. You sat around the campfire and you told stories, right? And so, look, limited technology and a microphone. So I ask you only one favor of the night, and that is you can use your cell phone. Please, of course, silence it. I think you figured that one out by now, except for the guy in the back whose phone will go off later. But take pictures, tweet, text. I'm going to have everyone's handles up on the screen, but I ask that you please do not take any video because we are videotaping in all the role models this evening, and every role model at the Legacy Show has first right of refusal on any film or any footage. They might not want it up or they might want something cut out because you never know. We don't know what you're going to share on the stage, and perhaps there's something that you don't want the world to know just yet. The only other thing that I say is, you know what? We have an awesome bartender tonight, Hillary in the house, and Jesse, right? Jesse's back there too, right there. He's doing table service, and they are fantastic. They will liquor you up until you have no more money. But the best time to get up and grab a drink if Jesse isn't coming around to the table is when I'm up here on the stage with the role model. So if you see me up here, no reason to respect me. Go right to the bar. Go grab a drink. Okay, that's fine by me. But during the, I ask you to stay present with the role models. So with that being said, I'm ready for the first role model of the evening. I'm ready for some inspiration. I'm ready to go. I'd like to bring up our first role model of the evening. So if you do not work in entertainment or showbiz, you probably have no idea who this next person is. But you watch her work because you've seen things she's cast on in movies. And if you are a performer, you might know her for her extremely supportive platform and inspirational venue for actors to learn how to be the best version of themselves. That is the Actors Green Room. I'd like to bring up our first role model, Jen Rudolph.
I made it. I'm on a screen. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Excellent. Yes.
I feel like I should be, have this down. Okay. I'm such a perfectionist. Look at this. I want to be in charge of moving things around and adjusting them to my, I'm micromanaging. And this is how you be successful. No, I'm kidding. Don't micromanage. All right. So, my name is Jen, and I am a workaholic. It's true.
Hi, Jen.
Thank you. The first step is admitting that you have a problem and a very successful business. All right. I'm doing good. I'm doing a great job so far. All right. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. Who in here is an actor? All right. Who in here has no idea who I am? That's okay. Okay. This guy's not even looking. He's, I don't know who the hell you are. Get off that stage. So my name is Jen Rudolph. I am the founder and CEO of the Actors Green Room, which is a company in New York that runs professional and holistic classes for actors. Okay, so in my business, there are a few other giants that were around for about 15 years prior to when I entered. So when I graduated from college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I had a head for business. I was trained as an actor, and I was like, okay, I really want to work with actors in some kind of capacity, but I want to make money at it, and I want to be creative, and I have no idea what I want to do. So I moonlighted as a talent agent assistant. I really liked that. And then I became a junior agent very quickly. And then I almost got fired from that job for insubordination. So I was a terrible employee. My boss at that company actually said, you are the worst employee I've ever had, but you're going to be the best boss ever. And I was like, okay. So it's a good thing that I got another job when I was there because I'm sure I would have gotten fired. So anyway, what ended up happening is I went to go work at Mandalay Television for the executive vice president of series television in New York. His name is Scott Sanders. And I went over there. And I was simply his executive assistant. Like, I was answering phones. I was talking to people like Diana Ross. I was talking to people like Diana Ross. And, like, all these people were calling for Scott. And I was like, hold on. Scott, Diana Ross is on the phone. So, I was exposed to a lot of people. And I was just like, this is fascinating. And, like, this guy actually has the life that I want. Like, he's this executive producer. He travels between New York and LA. He's working with actors. He's going to play golf. I'm like making his doctor's appointments, and he's so creative. And then he's like making projects and he's doing all this stuff. And I'm like, this is really cool. So when I was over there, Scott was working on a show called Young Americans, which was the spinoff of Dawson's Creek. And the series got ordered, and they needed a casting director. So they hired this guy, Jeff Mitchell. And I said to myself, casting? That sounds like a lot of fun. So I asked my boss, I said, Scott, what if we do the sessions at Sony, which is where the offices were? I said, you're not here during the day. I could turn your office into a casting studio. And, what if we did that? And if, I was Jeff's assistant? And he said, all right. So I ended up kind of inserting myself into this guy's life. Like, I marched over to Jeff's office and I was like, hi, my name's Jen Rudolph. I work for Scott Sanders and I'm your assistant. And he was like, who the hell is this person? So basically I started working with Jeff as the assistant, and we discovered a young actress by the name of Michelle Monaghan, and we gave her her first job ever. And from there, I became Jeff's associate, and then Mandalay announced it was closing, so I went into casting full-time. Now I feel too short. Never satisfied. So I went into casting full-time at that point, and I became his partner. And we renamed the company Mitchell Rudolph Casting because I was like, I need to be in the name. So I was a casting director for about 10 years, and I worked on a variety of projects from television pilots to episodics to feature films to horror films, like everything. I've done about 40 different films. And then I started teaching because I was living the dream of, I was on a Skype call with Michael Bay, who directed Transformers, which is a movie I worked on, and I was doing a director session with him via Skype with an actor, and he was like, you know what you're doing. And I was like, cool. So, all these actors that I was working with as a casting director, I started to think to myself, I'm really helping these people book work. I seem to know what I'm doing here. So I started teaching classes and whatnot, and then I was doing one class a week, and I was working in an office this big. It was really, really small. And I was doing these classes at night, and then I added a second class because that class was sold out, and then I did a third class, and then that was sold out, and I was like, I really like teaching. And it's kind of becoming like a business. I don't know too much about this business. And, while I was a casting director, I actually taught classes at these two companies, which I'm not going to name, but they hired me, and I went in and I was teaching for them, and I'm like, this is a really interesting business model. I really like this. And then I was like, okay, they have been around for 15 years. There's no way I can punch a hole through this. I mean, this is tough. I don't know how this is going to work. But, I had this vision. I had this vision of doing things my way, of working with actors, of mentoring them in the room, and of giving them this seasoned business creative advice. And I started just kind of looking at my life, and I was like, I don't want to be a casting director anymore. I'm like, I want to work with actors and teach them. So I stopped being a casting director, and I was working in a very small office, and I was just doing this under my own name. And then one of the actors who I was teaching, who I was working with, she was like, you need to open up your own business. And I was like, oh, I don't, I've got to form an LLC. I have to do all this. Oh my God. So, it just kind of happened naturally for me, and that like the market was telling me that I knew what I was doing. And there was so much demand, and there was only so much supply that could go around, because I was like, I don't want to teach 7 days a week. I mean, like, this is a lot. It's taxing. It's, I see a lot of my students here. I love you guys. And I love everybody else who does, who has no idea who I am, like this guy over here. He doesn't know me. I love you too. It's okay. Am I? I'm doing good. Okay, good. So basically what ended up happening is I came up with the name The Green Room, and then that was taken, like in terms of like LLC and domain. And then my friend Kennedy said, why don't you call it The Actors Green Room? Ding! So I bought the domain, I registered it as an LLC, and then it literally just like, it just kind of took off. Like it just kind of happened. Like I was the operations manager, I was the marketing manager, I was the bookkeeper. I did everything myself at the beginning. Number one, because you're a startup, right? So it's like, everything's a loss leader at that point. Like I didn't have the capital. Like I did this with like very minimal risk. Like I was renting a very small space. I keep pointing to this. And I was like, I'm going to rent it as I go. This way I'm not going to sign a lease. And if I lose money, it's okay. And everything's going to be fine. So, okay. So basically I was doing that. And then what ended up happening is I started hiring other people also to work with me. And then that then turned into like, oh my God, like we have classes now every single day. And they're selling out, like left and right, left and right, left and right. So the universe wanted me to move out of this little shithole. Like, if I can say that, is it okay? Yeah. Shithole! I was in a shithole! It was so small. And basically, Jeff and I got a notice where they were like, so we're selling the building and everybody needs to be out in 3 months. So I was like, like they lit a fire under my ass. And I was like, Jeff, what are we going to do? I don't know where to go. So we went over to 28th Street and we took a look at this space. And my space is like really large. It's like from like here all the way over there, like what I'm looking at. And I looked out the window and I saw the Empire State Building and I was like, this is triple the rent that I pay. Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? Leap and the net shall appear. I have a very good business and it's booming. So I signed a 7-year lease on this place, and 7 years, and I'm still there. And, I just kind of trusted that it would all work out, because here's the thing. If you have a really strong product, the product will sell itself as long as you put in the work. Now, I was a workaholic. I was literally working 14-hour days, and I was doing everything, and I was building this business, and I pissed off these 2 competitors. Now, actually, you know what? I offered one of them a deal. I said, do you want to go into business together? And they were like, no. And I said, well, then you're in trouble. And, he was like, I'm not worried. Yeah, I'm not worried about you. Meanwhile, so I came from behind and I just kind of like, I caught up. And then all of a sudden, like these people are migrating over. And, the approach that I took with my business, and one thing that like I really want to hit home is that, if you're passionate about what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very, very, very hands-on. Very hands-on. Like I still do almost all of the marketing myself. Whereas like all of my competitors, it's like, this is what we have to offer. Press send. Like the owner's not involved. Like there's no sense of like community in a sense. So, I'm a believer that because of the passion that I put into this business, and because, you always want to do something differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to come along and solve a problem. You don't want to add to the problem. And you can't be a solution that's already there, because 2 things can't take up the same space, literally, right? So I had to come in with a different approach, but it wasn't really something that I was trying to maneuver or that was false. It was my authentic vision of like, I'm hands-on. Like, that's what's going to make this different, is that I am personally involved. I've attended the classes, I write the emails, I talk to the students. So basically, and I'm just gonna, reveal the truth here. Like I created $1 million business in less than like 6 years. Like I went from 0 to $1 million. Oh, thank you. Over $1 million, actually. That isn't what I walk home with, but I am... It's not. But I am proud to say that, I took this trajectory and I I'm pretty much on par with my competition. I mean, I don't know their numbers, but I feel like the approach that I took, was very personal. And I think that that's what made all the difference because, again, the actors who come to my studio and the people that work with me, I know that they feel very nurtured and taken care of. Thank you. I love you guys. They form friendships with each other. They're in a community that is so supportive and not competitive. So then a few years ago, actually 2 years ago, these two women started harassing me and started sending me, this one person started harassing me and sending me emails saying, I want to come and, work with you at AGR and I have all these ideas. And I was like, delete. I'm a shark, right? Like I operate on the principles of Shark Tank and the profit. And I'm like, all that stuff, like Shark Tank, like if you read my emails, I'm going to send you my emails. They're good. So, I was not spiritual. I was not woo-woo. I was not any of that crap. I was like, work. That's it. Business, hardcore, cutthroat. So this woman, she attends a yoga class at my studio, and she approached my ex-wife, now who's a really good friend, about working at the studio. And then finally I agreed. I was like, all right, you know what? Let me talk to her and her business partner, Kristen Hange, who's a Tony-nominated director of Rock of Ages. And I'm like, okay, let me talk to these two people. So I get on Skype with them at 8 a.m. in the morning, and they're like, hi, we're so excited to talk to you. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So eventually they wore me down, and I hired them to come teach something at my company called Create, which blew my business out of the water. Because what I learned is that sharks need water, right? So hashtag sharks need water. So one of the ladies who runs Create is here. Her name's Natalie Roy. There she is. She's here. And, since Create became a part of AGR, Create is its own company, but they do a lot of work with AGR. But, since I've incorporated them into my business, I would say that it changed it dramatically and it took it to the next level and then I've changed dramatically. Like my workaholism has lessened, I believe, because I'm applying all of these principles that I'm learning from this guru over here and her partner, Kristen. I attend Create every week. It's once a week at the Actors Green Room. And it's really just like holistic tools for actors and, how to navigate this business and, just like we talk about jealousy and rejection and all this stuff. And I've had to confront my own stuff. And I feel like this is like the balance in between work and play. So it's like my business is thriving. Everything is good. And I'm becoming a lot more centered at the same time. I was so against this at the beginning. I was like, this is weird. I don't know what people are going to think. And now it's like an addiction. People come to Create and they're addicted to it. It's amazing. Everybody come to Create, especially you in the corner over there. You would really like it. This poor guy. So, something that I believe in as an entrepreneur now is you have to have that balance, right? I still work very hard, but I've released some of my control. I now have an operations manager. I have an operations assistant. I have some marketing help. I have a staff. I have a whole list of people now that run this operation for me. And I'm the captain of the ship, and I'm steering it, and I'm constantly creating new things. I'm constantly coming up with new ideas, because that's what I like to do. I'm an entrepreneur. And, I work 80 hours a week so that I can avoid a job where I have to work 40 hours a week. I didn't make that up. I got that from Shark Tank. And I don't actually work 80 hours a week anymore. I actually have a very good life now. I feel like, I wake up when I wake up. I check my email. I do my thing. I now have a daily practice that I do where I meditate. And she's like, yeah. I do that. And, I really feel like I'm a lot more balanced now. And I feel like I'm still as productive and my company kind of runs itself and it's doing its thing and it's ever expanding. And we have the spiritual and we have the business and we have all this and I'm coming up with new things. But I feel like, so long as I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, it doesn't feel like work. You know what I'm saying? When it starts to feel like work is when I'm doing something that I'm like, I personally was like, I hated doing the checks. I hated, all this crap. I hate answering these stupid admin questions. And you know what? As a business owner, sometimes I still have to do it, but now I'm kind of like on the outside looking in, and I'm looking down and I'm seeing like, I'm helping people, and all these people are, like they have friends in the industry now, and they don't have to feel so alone, and they're learning and they're growing and they're booking episodics, and someone's in a film, and it's like, and I love being so invested in my job. Like, I love what I do, and the minute that I stop loving what I do is when I'm not going to do it anymore. So I believe that, at the beginning of any career, you have to work hard. You have to work hard. I mean, like, I had to kind of find a way to, like, rise up to my competition. I had to do my research. I had to build my stuff. I had to build the website. I had to do all this. I mean, I did a lot of it myself. So I was doing, like, 100 different jobs. But, you get somewhere and you cross that line, and then eventually you're okay. So now I feel like I found a really good balance in my life, and I hope that I've inspired you guys. Thank you. I'm staying. Okay.
So, because you do have to work hard. You always have to work hard, and the way you work hard starts to change, right?
Yes.
And I have to admit, I just have to say this, and that is, oh yeah, now's the time to get a drink. See, there's the drink symbol. See, now's a great time to get a drink.
Oh my God, there I am.
So during that time, I just relate to it, getting that bigger office, right? Yeah. That is one of the scariest moments in the world when you're signing a 7-year lease.
I can't. It was like, I actually, and I don't encourage this, I took half a Valium after I did that. I'm not kidding. I called my mother and I was like, I'm having an anxiety attack. But one thing I say at the Actors Green Room, if you build it, they will come, which I got from Field of Dreams.
Yep, if you build, and they came. And they did come.
Came.
So this was, wow, this place gets noisy at the bar. So what, it was 6 years ago, you said?
Which I signed the lease.
Oh, no, you started the business.
Officially, I named the company almost 7 years ago.
Okay,
I named the company, but yeah.
First off, congratulations on building such a successful enterprise in that time.
Thank you.
Where you're literally a household name in Astoria, New York. Right?
I'm a household name in Astoria. Yes, that's exactly.
Well, that's where the actors, and Williamsburg.
And Williamsburg.
And Williamsburg,
yeah.
right?
I'm world famous in Williamsburg. Great. Perfect.
So if you could go back 7 years, you know that you had to work hard, right? And so maybe some people have successful businesses and enterprises, or maybe they're just starting. So we all know we got to work that hard route. But what would you tell yourself if you could go back 7 years ago? What advice would you give yourself now? Because there's going to be a lot of those individuals in the room who are in that position now, because we know we got to work. But what advice would you give yourself?
Keep your eye on the prize and ask for help when you need it. Don't be afraid to reach into your pocket and lose a little money while you're building, because the payoff will be greater. Like, if I could have done things slightly differently, I would have not micromanaged as much, and I would have been like, hey, I'm going to reach into my pocket and I'm going to hire you and I'm going to have you help me. And then, the return of investment's going to be large, and then I'll be all right.
And it doesn't... Yes, you might have to reach in your pocket. Yeah. Maybe it's a company, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's an intern. Maybe it's a paid intern. Maybe it's
anybody. I was such a control freak. Come on.
Maybe it's your mother. Maybe it's my mother-in-law, right? Whatever.
No.
She's not here. I'm pointing to my wife.
Not my mother.
That's not my mother-in-law.
No.
Okay. And another thing that comes to mind on that is also there's other people, and it sounds like you tried this. There's other people who have already done what you've done one way or another.
Yes.
And so, like you said, ask for help.
Ask for help.
So how would anybody, including Kevin, find more about your...
You would go to theactorsgreenroom.com. You can see all of our classes. You can follow us on social media. So theactorsgreenroom.com. Again, even if you are not an actor, you should all check out Create. And you can look at Create on our website. There's a whole thing that says Create. You can look at them at the Create Playgroup on Twitter and on Instagram. And Create is for artists and creatives and entrepreneurs who just want to be awesome.
Well, the definition of create, if you look it up, is basically anyone is a solution to be able to find a solution to a problem. That's create. And I think we all have to do that.
Everybody.
And it sounds like you found a few solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Rudolph from the
Thank you,
Actors
guys.
Green Room. Yes, transitional music. This is great. We are getting bigger and better every single step of the way. All right, so our next role